Rain lashed against the window pane. Inside, bathed in the soft glow of countless monitors, Dr. Elias Vance adjusted his headset. The Lucid program was finally operational. Years of research had culminated in this moment, the ability to not only record but also manipulate dreams. He looked across the room at his first patient, strapped to a bed, her face relaxed, lost in slumber. Her name was Anya. She had volunteered for the program, desperate to escape the clutches of her recurring nightmares. Elias watched the monitors, his heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. The machine whirred, translating Anya's brainwaves into a visual tapestry of her dreamscape. Elias leaned forward, his eyes glued to the screen. He was about to step into the uncharted territory of the human mind. Anya walked through a field of sunflowers, their faces turned towards a sky of swirling, iridescent colors. Elias smiled. It was beautiful, serene. This was a good start. He watched as Anya laughed, twirling amidst the sunflowers. He could almost feel the warmth of the sun on his skin, smell the sweet scent of the flowers. Then a flicker. A shadow crossed the screen, distorting the idyllic scene. The sunflowers wilted, their vibrant colors fading to a dull grey. The sky turned a sickly yellow. Elias frowned. This wasn't right. He hadn't programmed any of this. He tried to adjust the parameters, but the machine wouldn't respond. It was as if something else had taken control. Anya's laughter died in her throat, replaced by a gasp of fear. She stumbled back, her eyes wide with terror, staring at something beyond Elias's field of vision. He tried to pan the camera to see what she was seeing, but it wouldn't budge. He was locked onto her face, contorted in a mask of pure dread. Then a voice, a deep guttural growl, echoing all around them. It wasn't Anya's voice, it was something else, ancient, powerful, and it was speaking directly to him. The voice sent shivers down Elias's spine. He felt a cold dread creep into his heart. This was more than just a glitch in the system. This was something far more sinister. Elias woke Anya with a jolt. She sat up, gasping for air, her eyes still wide with terror. She looked around the room, her breath coming in ragged gasps, then at Elias, her voice trembling. "There's something in there," she whispered. Her eyes filled with a fear that chilled him to the bone. Something evil. Elias tried to calm her, assuring her it was just a bad dream, but deep down, a seed of doubt had been planted. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. News of the strange occurrences during Anya's session spread quickly. Other patients started reporting similar experiences, a fleeting glimpse of a shadow, a feeling of being watched, a voice whispering their name from the darkness. Section 5. The collective reports poured in from all over the country, then the world. Thousands of Lucid program users were experiencing the same nightmare, the same shadow, the same voice, the same overwhelming sense of dread. The media went into a frenzy, dubbing it the dream plague. Governments scrambled to contain the situation, but there was no stopping it. The nightmare was spreading like wildfire. Elias knew he couldn't ignore this any longer. He had to find out what was happening. Why were all these people having the same nightmare? And what was the entity they were all so afraid of? He delved deeper into the data, poring over the code, searching for any anomaly that could explain what was happening. He was running out of time. The nightmare was evolving, growing stronger. Section 6. The Prisoner. In the depths of the human mind, there are places that should never be explored, doors that should never be opened. Yet curiosity often leads us down paths we are ill-prepared to tread. The entity in the dream was becoming clearer. It was no longer a mere figment of the imagination, but something far more sinister and real. It was a being of pure shadow, its edges constantly shifting, its form impossible to define. It seemed to be made of the very essence of darkness, a void that consumed all light. Its eyes, two burning embers of hate, stared out from the darkness, burning into the minds of its victims. These eyes were not just windows to its soul, but weapons that inflicted deep psychological wounds. Elias discovered the entity was trapped, imprisoned within the fabric of the collective unconscious. It was a prisoner of the mind, bound by the fears and nightmares of humanity. The Lucid program had inadvertently given it a voice, a way to reach out and touch the minds of the living. This program, designed to explore the depths of the human psyche, had unknowingly unleashed a dormant evil. And it was using that voice to spread fear, to weaken the barriers that held it captive. The more fear it spread, the more it could manipulate and control those who dared to dream. It was feeding off their terror, growing stronger with each passing moment. The entity thrived on the chaos and despair it sowed, becoming more powerful as the boundaries of its prison weakened. He realized with a growing sense of horror that he had made a terrible mistake. Elias had underestimated the entity's power and the consequences of his actions. He had opened a door that should have remained closed, unleashed something ancient and evil upon the world. Now the fate of countless souls hung in the balance, and the true battle was just beginning. Section 7. Confrontation. Elias knew he had to stop it. The weight of the world seemed to rest on his shoulders, and the burden was almost too much to bear, but he couldn't let fear paralyze him. He had to act, and he had to act now. He was the only one who could. The responsibility was his alone, and he accepted it with a heavy heart but a clear mind. There was no turning back. He entered the lucid program himself, venturing into the heart of the collective nightmare. The program was a labyrinth of the mind, a place where reality and dreams intertwined in a dangerous dance. He had trained for this moment, but nothing could truly prepare him for what lay ahead. He had to confront the entity, to reason with it, to find a way to contain it before it was too late. The entity was a manifestation of humanity's darkest fears, a being born from the collective unconscious. It was powerful, and it was angry. The dreamscape was a swirling vortex of terror and madness, a reflection of the collective fear that was gripping the world. Every step he took felt like wading through a nightmare, each moment more surreal and terrifying than the last. He felt a million eyes upon him, felt the weight of their terror pressing down on him. The eyes were everywhere, watching, judging, waiting for him to fail. But he couldn't afford to fail. Too much was at stake, and then he saw it. The entity. It was more terrifying than he had imagined, a dark presence that seemed to suck the light out of the room. It was the embodiment of fear, and it was staring right at him. It towered above him, a being of pure darkness and malice. Its form was constantly shifting, a mass of shadows and whispers that seemed to be alive. It was both fascinating and horrifying. Its voice, a chorus of whispers, echoed all around him, promising power, promising release. The whispers were seductive, almost hypnotic. But Elias knew better than to listen. He had to stay focused. Elias knew it was lying. He had to fight. The entity's promises were empty. Its power, a trap. He steeled himself, ready to face whatever came next. For himself, for Anya, for the world. He couldn't let them down. He wouldn't let them down. With a deep breath, he stepped forward, ready to confront the darkness head-on. Section 8. Choice. The entity offered him a choice. Join it, become one with the darkness, and rule the nightmares of humanity, or stand against it and face the consequences. Elias looked into the abyss. He saw the countless minds trapped within, their fear fueling the entity's power. He saw Anya, her face contorted in a silent scream. He had to make a choice. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and remembered why he had created the lucid program in the first place. To help people, to free them from their nightmares, not to create new ones. He opened his eyes, and his fear was gone, replaced by a steely resolve. He would not be a part of this. He would not let this entity win. Section 9. Awakening. He focused his will, drawing on the collective hope that still flickered within the nightmare. The darkness had been overwhelming, a suffocating presence that threatened to consume everything. But within that abyss there was a spark, a glimmer of resistance that refused to be extinguished. He faced the entity, his voice echoing with newfound strength, and challenged its control. The entity, a manifestation of fear and despair, loomed over him, its form shifting and writhing. But he stood his ground, drawing strength from the memories of those he fought for, the faces of loved ones and friends who depended on him. A blinding light erupted, banishing the shadows and silencing the whispers. The light was not just a physical phenomenon, but a symbol of hope and resilience. It spread rapidly, illuminating the darkest corners of the mind, pushing back the tendrils of despair that had taken root. The entity roared in anger and pain as its hold on the collective unconscious weakened. The world woke up. The nightmares ended. People stirred from their restless slumber, their minds clearing from the fog of fear. The oppressive weight that had hung over them lifted, replaced by a sense of clarity and peace. The entity was gone, banished back to the depths of the collective unconscious, its power diminished, its plans thwarted, for now. But Elias knew that this victory was only temporary. The entity would bide its time, waiting for another moment of weakness to strike again. Elias woke up in his lab, the faint hum of the lucid program filling the air. The familiar surroundings brought a sense of comfort, but also a reminder of the responsibility that lay ahead. The lucid program had been their only hope, a beacon in the fight against the darkness. He looked around at the empty beds, the silent machines, and knew that the fight was far from over. Each empty bed represented a victory, but also a reminder of the battles yet to come. The silence was both a relief and a challenge, urging him to prepare for the next confrontation. The entity was still out there, waiting for its chance to return. It lurked in the shadows, a constant threat that could re-emerge at any moment. The battle had been won, but the war was far from over, and he, Elias Vance, would be ready. With renewed determination, he vowed to protect the collective unconscious, to stand as a guardian against the encroaching darkness. The fight would continue, but he would face it with unwavering resolve.